You get one shot at this, one life. It's a fleeting, fragile gift. And on this journey, you're gonna get tested. You're gonna fall. And through all that noise, through the pain, a single choice, it just rises to the surface. Because today isn't just another Tuesday on the calendar. No, it is a battleground for your entire future. And the enemy? Well, the enemy is that quiet, comfortable pull of doing nothing. The fight for that future? It starts right now.
And we're gonna start right here with this absolute truth. Your past, it can be a prison that chains you to who you were, or it can be the fuel that launches you toward who you could be. You can't have both. It's one or the other. Everything we're about to break down today hinges on this one idea. Your focus has to be forward, relentlessly forward. What's done is done. The only question that matters now is, what are you gonna do now?
So that leads us right into the first stage, the awakening. This is that moment where you have to realize, really let it sink in, that the clock doesn't stop for your excuses or your pain or your regrets. It just keeps ticking. And that story you've been telling yourself, the one that explains why you're stuck where you are, that doesn't have to be the story you're living tomorrow. This right here, this is where the revolution begins, inside your own head.
I want you to take a hard, honest look at your life, right this second. Your health, your bank account, your state of mind. How did you end up here? The material we're looking at is brutally honest about it. Where you are today is the sum total of every single choice you've ever made. Now, this isn't about blame. It's not about beating yourself up. It's about taking 100% ownership. It's about that powerful realization that if your past choices built this reality, then your future choices, they can build a brand new one. You know, what's so powerful about this is how it just cuts through all the noise. It lays out two basic operating systems for a human being. On the left, you've got this mindset of being a perpetual victim. It's just fueled by excuses. And on the right, you have the warrior's code, built on a foundation of just radical responsibility. So the question isn't which one sounds nicer. The real question is, which side of this chart is writing your life story right now? Be honest with yourself, because you're living on one side or the other. There's no middle ground.
All right, so once you've chosen that path, the path of the warrior, once you've said, you know what, I am responsible, that's when the real battle begins. And it's not against your boss or your circumstances or the world. That's just a smokescreen. The main event, the title fight, is the war for the territory between your own two ears. It's the silent, daily struggle to win control of your own mind.
And this right here, this is your primary weapon in that war. See, perspective isn't just some passive mood you're in. It is an active tool. It's the lens that you choose to view your entire reality through. You can pick a lens that magnifies every opportunity and shows you the solutions, making it your greatest advantage. Or you can look through a lens that's cracked with negativity, one that literally kills your ambition before you even get out of bed. It is always, always your choice.
Think about it for a second. That one thing that's holding you back, you know the one, that obstacle that keeps you staring at the ceiling at night. Is it really the giant, unbeatable wall you've made it out to be? Is it just a problem, a roadblock that's just there to stop you?
Or is it actually a doorway in disguise? This source material argues that every single setback is just the setup for a comeback. You know, thank you for firing me, that just forced me to go build my own company. Thank you for leaving me, that just created the space I needed to find my own self-worth. See, the event itself is neutral. Your perspective is what gives it power. What you call a crisis is almost always the exact thing you needed to happen so you could evolve. Just let that sink in for a minute. This isn't just some nice-sounding quote for a poster. This is the fundamental law of achievement. Every single victory you will ever have on the outside is always, always preceded by a victory on the inside. If you're defeated in your own head, you will be defeated in the world. Every time you master your inner world and the outer world, it's got no choice but to fall in line. Okay, so we've built the foundation.
We have the mindset of a warrior. But let's be real, a mindset without action is, well, it's just a daydream. So now we get to the good stuff. We're heading into the engine room. This is where we learn how to forge all that willpower into real, tangible results, using the one currency that absolutely guarantees success: discipline.
And right here, this is a radical reframing of that whole concept. Most of us are taught to see discipline as a punishment, right? As a restriction. But this source argues the exact opposite. It is the highest possible form of self-love. Think of it like planting a tree. Yeah, it's hard work at first. You're out there digging in the dirt when you'd rather be on the couch. But you're not doing it for the you of today. You're doing it for the you of tomorrow. The one who's going to be standing in the shade of a life that you built with your own two hands.
So how do you actually build it? This right here is your roadmap to an unbreakable will. It all starts with making these little non-negotiable contracts with yourself every day. You wake up before your excuses have a chance to. You attack the hardest thing on your list first. Get a win under your belt before most people have even had their coffee. You push past what's comfortable, that one extra rep, that one extra call, to prove to yourself that your limits don't define you. You actually learn to embrace the discomfort because you know it's a sign of growth. And then you get up the next day and you do it all over again and again and again, until that's just who you are.
And in those moments, and they will come, when your old self is screaming at you to just stop, when the warmth of your bed feels so much better than the promise of your future, this is your answer. This isn't a suggestion, it's a command. It is a declaration of war on mediocrity. I can, I will, I must. Let that become the drumbeat that you march to.
And that brings us to the final chapter of this whole transformation, the ascension. You've rewired your mind. You've built a life that's all about action. So what's the end game? What do you become? This is where you evolve from being a warrior into a force of nature. This is where you become the shark.
Just imagine it for a second, gliding through the water with this effortless power and purpose. The whole metaphor is about proximity. It's about who you surround yourself with. When you immerse yourself in an environment of excellence, when you're around people who are constantly moving, constantly pushing,
It's not a question of if you'll change, it's just a question of how profound you will. You've heard it before, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. End of story. If you want to operate at a higher level, you have to surround yourself with a higher standard. Your mindset, it will adapt to survive, and then it will learn to thrive.
And that is the brutal and beautiful truth of that new existence. Moving forward is no longer a choice, it's a biological imperative. Standing still, being complacent, that is death. But here's the secret, you were never meant to be stationary. You were built for the current. You were born to move, to grow, and to conquer.
And you know, the ultimate purpose of all this power, it's not just about what you can get for yourself. The whole point of becoming a shark is to become an impact player. The one whose strength lifts other people up. The one whose success opens up doors for their entire community. So I'll ask you straight up, what is your legacy going to be? How are you going to use your strength to make this world just a little bit better?
And if, for even a second, you feel a flicker of doubt, I want you to look at this number, 24. This is the great equalizer. The most successful person you can possibly imagine gets 24 hours in a day. The person struggling the most gets 24 hours in a day. You get 24. It's the raw, untamed resource that we all share. The difference between failure and greatness is never about how much time you have, it's about the value you place on it.
And so we end right back where we started, with a choice. Every sunrise hands you a clean slate, 24 brand new hours. You are alive for a reason. You have an opportunity that millions who came before you would have killed for. The clock is ticking. You have the mindset now. You have the roadmap. The only thing left to do is act. It's time for you to finally believe in you. Now go out there and show the world what you are made of.
You know, in a world of infinite moving parts, where chaos feels like the only constant, there is one single battle that truly defines your existence. And it's not fought out there on some field or in an office. It's fought within. And today, we're going to architect the framework for winning it.
And look, this is the fundamental truth we have to start with. The world, other people, the universe itself, yeah, they set the stage. They might even build this brutal, unforgiving terrain you have to cross, but that final decision, how far you actually go, how much you're willing to endure, where you decide to stop, that power belongs entirely and only to you. So let's get right to the heart of it, the main event, the most significant opponent you will ever face. It isn't out there. It's right here. It's always you versus you. And it's a fair question, isn't it? I mean, with all the real challenges out there, economic, social, personal, why do we always circle back to this idea that the focus has to be inward? Why are you the one who's really standing in your own way? Well, think about it for a second. All those things on the outside, they can't actually force you to surrender. A tough situation, a huge setback, a rejection, none of them have the power to make you settle or quit. Only you have that authority. You're the one who decides when it's time to turn back. You are always in the driver's seat. Once you really get this, once you understand this fundamental power, it puts all the tools right back in your hands. You stop being just a passive observer of your life. You become the architect, the engineer, the designer of what comes next. So let's see how this is built. So you have this powerful choice in how to live. On one hand, you can go through life like a jellyfish, just floating with the tide, a spectator in your own journey, which ultimately leaves you without any real purpose. Or you can be the driver. You can take the wheel, you can write your own story, fueled by this incredible sense of agency. One is just passive reaction, the other is active creation.
And that's personal agency. In psychology, they call it an internal locus of control. It's just the belief that you, not all these outside forces, have the power to shape events and their outcomes. It's that exact moment you realize that every single thing that happens to you comes with a question. What are you going to make this mean? And how you answer that, well, that changes everything.
And this just nails the point, doesn't it? Your reality is a direct reflection of what you've decided to accept. The walls you feel around you, they're largely of your own making. If you don't stop and ask which mountain is actually worth climbing, you'll just end up floating along with the tide.
So if we're the architects, then how do we start the climb? Well, the path is actually laid out for us. It's a cycle, a repeatable framework for growth. But first we have to understand a really crucial distinction that almost everyone gets wrong.
The path to becoming who you want to be is simple, but it is absolutely not easy. See, simple is about the complexity of the path itself. Easy is about your will to walk it. The act of putting one foot in front of the other, that's simple. But using that same simple action to hike up a treacherous mountain, that is not easy. The mechanics are identical, but the context, the willpower required, that changes everything. And here it is, the 5-step cycle for that ascent. It's not some secret formula. The profound truth here isn't that most people can't do this, it's that they simply won't. So let's break down each step of the climb. Okay, step 1. It all begins with a moment of recognition. It's that moment you look around and it hits you. That thing that was once your absolute limit, the spectacular achievement you had to strain for, is now just your baseline. It's the floor you walk on. That awareness is the spark. It forces you to ask, okay, so what's next?
All right, step 2 is about getting brave on purpose. It's the decision to constantly, willingly, step into the uncomfortable unknown of tomorrow. You have to burn this idea into your mind. Discomfort is not a signal to stop. It's the price of admission for growth. It's the sign that tells you you're in exactly the right place.
Step 3 is about completely reframing your relationship with mistakes. They are not an indictment of your character, they are your curriculum. They're the data points you need to calibrate your climb. The second you realize there is so much more to gain from the attempt than there is to lose from the failure, you set yourself free to actually learn something.
Now, step 4 is all about trust. Look, evolution takes time, and it can be incredibly frustrating when you feel like you're giving it everything and getting nothing back. But every effort, every small win, every single swing of the bat, it all adds up. It compounds. It's that relentless repetition and adjustment fueled by a belief in yourself that will ultimately chisel your future self out of stone. And finally, step 5. At some point, you look over your shoulder and you see it, the incredible distance between where you are now and where you started. You have to celebrate that, relish it, and then you normalize it. That mountaintop you just conquered, it's now your new foundation. Your starting point has changed. And just like that, you're back at a new, higher step 1. The cycle begins again. But this whole cycle, this entire architecture of resilience, it's all built on something much deeper. It's built on a defiant, unrelenting will to just endure, to keep pushing forward, especially when every single fiber of your being is screaming at you to stop.
Think about the power of just adding a little bit more. Let's say an extra 22 seconds to a workout. It's not about the time, not really. It's a symbolic challenge. It's a physical reminder, actual proof that no matter how exhausted you think you are, you can always give just a little bit more.
Because the truth is, our limits are fiction. They are. They're just these arbitrary lines we draw in the sand based on our comfort, not on our actual capacity. There's almost always another 22 seconds we can endure. In fact, our most significant growth happens in that final push, just on the other side of the boundaries we've set for ourselves.
You know, this idea of an unrelenting will, it's timeless. Let's travel way back to 480 BC. A Persian army, hundreds of thousands strong, is invading Greece. At the pass of Thermopylae, King Xerxes stands before this tiny force of 300 Spartans and demands they lay down their weapons to be spared. Their response became the stuff of legend.
Malan Labe, come and take them. With everything on the line, with total annihilation all but guaranteed, they would not give up their principles. This is the ultimate expression of conviction. It is the definitive answer to any force, whether it's internal or external, that demands you give up who you are and what you stand for.
And so, we bring this entire framework right back to this exact moment. Because the power we've been talking about is always right there, within arm's reach. This choice isn't about some distant tomorrow. It's about right now.
Life is going to hand you adversity. Things will break, structures will crumble. There's a song that says everything is made to be broken. So the real question isn't if this is going to happen, but what will you do when it does? When it all falls apart, what will you build with the pieces left behind?
Because in a world of infinite options, what an incredible gift it is to be able to choose the journey of a lifetime. Today is not a dress rehearsal. It's not some inconvenience you have to get through on the way to somewhere else. Today is the big show. You have control over what becomes of what you were given. The only thing left to do is to go out there and make it amazing.
You know, so much of the motivational content out there, it's all for the people who have already won. The successful, the rich, the ones sitting at the top. But what about the rest of us?
And that's the question, the big question that our source material tackles today. See, this message, it's not for the person popping champagne on the victory stand. No, this is for the person who feels completely counted out, the one who feels overlooked, invisible, the one who's still in the middle of the storm, just trying to survive. All right, so let's get right into it. The whole thing kicks off by just acknowledging the pain. The speaker we're looking at today lays it all out there, you know? A really raw story of his own life, bearing his mother who was lost to heroin, his father being a hitman,
sleeping in crack houses just so he could be near his mom. It's this powerful reminder that real strength, it doesn't come from an easy life. It's forged in the absolute hottest fires. So, if that's you, if you're the one listening right now who feels like nobody, and I mean nobody, gets it, if you truly believe that greatness is something for other people, not for you, and if you are right on the edge of just giving up on everything, listen to me. This message is for you. This is the signal you've been waiting for.
Okay, so seeing the struggle, acknowledging it, that's step one. But the real question is, how do you get from that broken place to a place of real power? Well, the answer, it's all about one single fundamental shift. And here's the key. It's not about changing your circumstances right away. Not at all. It's about changing your perspective.
And that brings us to this critical question. Look at your life right now. Is your problem just a problem, or is it an opportunity in disguise? Think about it. Your brain, by default, is wired to see a problem and just label it bad, a problem. But what if? What if that thing you see as your biggest, most crushing setback is actually the setup for your greatest comeback? There's a name for this. It's a powerful psychological tool called cognitive reframing. And that is where your power truly begins.
And this right here, it illustrates that idea perfectly. So instead of sitting around complaining about losing your job, what if you see it as the push you needed to finally explore starting your own thing? A divorce. It doesn't have to be the end. It can be the chance for a brand new beginning. It's wild, right? One person looks at the gym and sees a prison, but another person, someone who almost lost their life, they see that same gym as a passport to live just a little bit longer. It's the exact same situation, but the outcome is completely different, all based on how you choose to look at it.
Look, this is really the ultimate law of personal power. The past, it's set in stone. It's cemented. You cannot go back and change a single thing. But your perspective, that is completely fluid. It's the one tool, the only tool you have in this exact moment to change how the past is going to affect your future.
All right, so where do we go from here? Once you start to reframe the world outside of you, the next step is to reframe the world inside of you. This next section, it's all about intentionally, deliberately forging a brand new identity. And it starts with the words you speak to yourself.
Let me ask you a simple question, but one that has a massive impact. When you look in the mirror, what do you really see? What's the story you're telling yourself? Because let me tell you something. The person you see in that mirror, that's the person who shows up to run your life every single day. That quiet narrative, the one you repeat when nobody else is around, that becomes your reality, period.
And this right here, this isn't a friendly suggestion, it's a command. The source material is crystal clear on this. Your new identity starts with a declaration. You don't hope to be a champion one day, you state it as a fact right now. From the second you open your eyes in the morning to the moment they close at night, your inner dialogue has to be, I am a champion.
And you don't stop there, you keep building on it. Look, this isn't about pretending your problems don't exist. It's about programming a new reality. It's about adopting a mindset that says, I don't care what setback comes, what loss I face, what mistake I make, nothing can change the fundamental truth that I am blessed and unstoppable.
And here it is, the final piece of this identity puzzle. It's the core belief that you are strategically, intentionally designed for greatness, not for mediocrity. You were made to be the leader, the innovator, the person who is above, not below. You are the head and not the tail.
So what does this champion actually look like in day-to-day life? Let's be real. It's not about feeling like a champion every single day. Anyone can feel good when things are good. No, it's about the commitment you show when you're exhausted. It's the hunger you have when you're already full. It's the discipline you demonstrate when everything around you is trying to distract you. That is the work.
Okay, but a powerful identity means nothing if it doesn't lead to action, right? It's just talk.
And this is where the specific language we use, the words we choose to describe our goals, becomes absolutely critical. Right now, it's time to find the weakest word in your vocabulary and eliminate it for good.
And that word? It's should. The source material calls it the language of bankruptcy. Think about it. I should work out. I should probably start that business. It's so weak, it has zero power. The game-changing shift, the one that changes everything, is moving from should to must. I must evolve. I must grow. You see the difference? It takes the task from being a mild suggestion and turns it into a non-negotiable command. It's not a preference anymore. It becomes a matter of survival.
So once you have that must mindset locked in, it drives a very practical plan. It's a three-step process. First, you have to make a brutally honest assessment of where you're weak. No ego, no excuses, just the cold, hard truth. Second, based on that truth, you build a completely new game plan. And third, you execute that plan with a relentless, obsessive, absolutely uncompromising effort.
And this quote, this is what that relentless effort really looks like. It's making the conscious decision to separate yourself from the crowd. It's about the quiet work, the lonely hours, the sacrifice that greatness absolutely demands. It's the deep understanding that your future isn't built in the spotlight. It's built in the dark, on the things you do when absolutely no one is watching.
So all of this, it all builds to one final, powerful call to action. We've talked about shifting your perspective. We've built a new identity. We've committed to musts instead of should. So what's left? Well, now there's only one thing left to do.
I need you to hear this, and hear it clearly. That dream you gave up on, that project you abandoned halfway through, that version of yourself you were so proud of, the one you thought was lost forever, it is not over. You have unfinished business. And destiny has not forgotten about you.
It is time to go back. But listen, you're not going back as the same person who left. No way. You are returning with a completely new perspective. You are returning with a champion's identity. So go back to that business, go back to the gym, go back to the drawing board, and this time you finish what you started.
This right here, this is the ultimate declaration of your intent. It's a statement to the universe that says the waiting is over. The time for being in the background, for being obscure, that time is done. This is you announcing to the world, and more importantly to yourself, that you're not asking for a seat at the table anymore. You are coming to take the entire throne.
So, just let this final thought really sink in. Your throne, and by that I mean your success, your dream, your ultimate destiny, it's not something you have to create out of thin air. It already exists. It's out there, and it's waiting for you. So the only question that really matters now is, are you ready to claim it?